I don't need a life with you anymore. I'm inheriting $5 million. I don't need you when I have that money, my husband William told me. His cold words suggested the end of our marriage. After a long period of living, I felt like a mere obstacle, but he doesn't know yet the significant secret associated with the $5 million inheritance. Mom, is it true that Grandpa is in critical condition? I was taken aback by my daughter Cora's unexpected question. Supposedly, the serious health problem of Alexander, who is William's father, was a secret between William and me. Did you get that information from your dad? The only one who might have told Cora is William. Yes, and on a call from Dad, he told me to renounce Grandpa's inheritance. Cora's words unsettled me, and because of this single phone call, my peaceful life was about to be shaken. A few days after the call with Cora, Alexander passed away peacefully. Since getting married, I've lived with William's parents, and I've never hesitated to support them when their health worsened. It's been 5 years since William's mother passed away, and now we've received the news of Alexander's passing. The funeral went smoothly, but the moment I thought I was free from the tension, my husband's behavior changed dramatically. What are you doing here? Why hasn't it been cleaned properly lately? William frequently points out minor dust and small stains. I'm sorry, I must have missed it. I'll clean it right now. This place isn't cleaned well either. Do you really clean every day? Of course, I clean with the same routine as always. Even though I clean just as always, I can't understand why William is so angry. But it seemed the issue wasn't just about cleaning. Why are you serving this? I wish you'd pay more attention to the taste when you cook. It's hard when the dishes I put effort into are criticized one by one. Even the dishes he used to enjoy are now unappreciated. Is there something bothering you lately? I plucked up the courage to ask, but it seemed to worsen his mood. It's useless to deny it. To be honest, the food you make isn't good. I've been tolerating it because my parents never complained, but I've always felt its tastelessness deep down. William's words pierced my heart coldly and sharply. It was the first time he had ever criticized me so severely. I knew when William was this upset, anything I said would only fan the flames. My mom always cleaned and did laundry perfectly, and at mealtimes, she cooked with care without cutting corners. You're nothing like her. I've been patient, but I can't stand it any longer. This was the first time he compared me to his mother and criticized me. All I could do was reflect deeply on myself. I'm truly sorry, I replied. I couldn't have imagined that he valued my cooking so little. William always used to smile and say it's delicious when eating. When we first got married, his mother gave me cooking advice. To think he has always found my cooking tasteless. Tears started to flow uncontrollably. Do you think anything will change if you cry? Your tears mean nothing now. Don't show them to me, William said coldly. Lately, everything just feels so tedious. After saying those words, William suddenly stood up and left the house, slamming the door behind him. As he walked away, I called out, "William, where are you going? Come back." But it seemed he didn't hear me. My mind was in turmoil, unable to keep up with this sudden change, unable to understand what had just happened. Until a few months ago, we were a couple who shared everything. Holding hands, we shared the small joys of daily life and tackled minor grievances together. I couldn't understand why we had become so distant. And then I remembered the content of the call from Cora. It's about Alexander's inheritance. There was a hint of hesitation in Cora's voice. That night, William came home much later than usual, and I missed the opportunity to ask him about it. Was there something going on? Maybe William found out some information about the inheritance and wanted to keep it to himself. I tried to approach Cora. I wonder why they're discussing inheritance while Grandpa is still in good health. She had expressed doubts about William and said she had conveyed the same to him. If the way the inheritance is divided doesn't change, it will all fall into my hands. Considering Cora, I believe this is the best way. Recalling William's recent cold behavior toward Cora, doubts crossed my mind. Is he intending to take all the inheritance and abandon me? This thought tightened my chest, and tears again welled up in my eyes. In my pain, I became keenly aware of the sounds around me. Just as the room became eerily silent, the sudden ring of the phone echoed throughout. I didn't feel up to answering, but it could be important. Checking the caller ID, I saw William's name, the same William who had left the house earlier. Picking up felt tiresome, but I also didn't want to face any backlash for ignoring it, so I hesitantly answered. What are you doing? Don't keep me waiting. I'm running out of time. His sudden authoritative tone took me by surprise. He was indeed stubborn at times, but he wasn't someone who would yell without reason in the past. Shocked by his changed demeanor, I let out a slight sigh, hoping he wouldn't notice. What's wrong? Is there a problem? I asked. I have something to talk about. I'll be home soon. Stay home and wait for me. Lately, his voice sounded unmistakably colder than before. I replied with a brief okay and promptly hung up. Looking at the clock, more than 3 hours had already passed since William went out. I had been crying, so overwhelmed with confusion and pain that I hadn't realized how much time had passed. After a while, I heard the door open and William's footsteps. A sweet scent of body wash, one we didn't use at home, wafted from him. That unfamiliar smell intensified the pain in my chest. I'll be straight with you. I want to end our relationship. As a token of gratitude, I'll give you $220,000, William said. His words were something I had feared deep down, but still, facing this reality, the shock was so immense that I felt my tears drying up. I'm genuinely tired of you not managing things at home. I want to live peacefully in my old age, he continued. Susan, too, had dreamt of a peaceful old age. However, the one who began to shatter that dream was none other than William. Why are you? Her words trailed off as she searched for what to say. William looked at her with a smug smile. At that moment, a bright ringtone from William's cell phone filled the room. The unfamiliar tone was clearly different from his usual one. To Susan, it felt as if this unusual sound hinted at a communication from a specific individual. I'm sorry, but I haven't finished my errands yet, William said, his voice slightly softer, different from how he usually sounded towards her. It felt somewhat kinder and more intimate. Furthermore, the sweet scent of body wash in the room, the unique ringtone from earlier, and the changed tone of his voice, all these events hinted at something he might be hiding. I knew it, Susan whispered quietly, so that William wouldn't hear. He had been too overt about his external affair. Considering the inheritance he might be getting soon, the alimony might be insignificant to him, even if his infidelity becomes evident. After ending his call, William looked down at Susan with emotionless, cold eyes. "My intentions haven't changed. I want you to sign this document. I'll contact you later. Make sure to have it signed by then. I don't plan to come back to this house. Remember, this house is now yours." Without uttering another word or even looking at her face, William headed towards the door. What did our long marital life of 40 years mean? A few days later, I found myself at a lawyer's office, gathering information about William's actions and Alexander's inheritance, and explained it to our daughter Cora. Her complexion changed. It was painful to show our daughter our mistakes, but Cora, out of love for me, let her emotions out and shed tears. Then she showed strong determination to confront William and introduced me to a lawyer to support us. "Hello, I am Ms. Laurie. I will be handling your case. I will support you to the best of my ability," the woman named Ms. Laurie said as she sat across from me. She seemed to be in her late 40s, exuding a calm aura. Her neatly groomed hair and attire gave off a professional vibe, and her clear way of speaking provided me with a sense of reassurance. "I'm truly sorry for approaching you suddenly. My name is Susan. I'm a bit nervous since it's our first meeting under such circumstances." "That's all right. I have already received some information from Cora. She has briefed me on the overview, so I was able to talk in detail with peace of mind. Based on what I'd researched over the days and the information Ms. Laurie separately gathered for me, we verified the facts. My husband doesn't have any siblings, so if our daughter Cora renounces the inheritance, the huge fortune, which amounts to about $5 million, will all go to my husband. Also, his affair with a woman named Gloria began at a bar they happened to visit, and it seems their relationship continued for about 6 months. She seems quite different from me, and I was curious about what happened between her and my husband. Through a joint investigation with Ms. Laurie, we were able to uncover an important fact that my husband might not yet know. Susan, how do you intend to proceed from here? Ms. Laurie asked me in a gentle tone with soft eyes. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. I deeply appreciate it, I replied, smiling towards Ms. Laurie. I handed over the fee for the procedures, and after a brief exchange with her, I quietly left the office. 5 days later, I received a call from William on my cell phone. He proposed a meeting in a quiet cafe. I arrived a bit earlier than our scheduled time. The cafe was surprisingly empty. The owner warmly welcomed me and suggested I pick any seat. I chose a seat by the window to enjoy the calm outside view. After a while, the entrance bell rang, and in my line of sight stood William and his new girlfriend, Gloria. When William saw me, he smirked with a sense of pride. Are you prepared for the divorce? I was a bit surprised that this was his first statement. It seems he's convinced he's in full control. Is this your new associate? I hadn't expected him to bring her to such an important discussion, and I was astonished at his decision. I wondered if he was the man I once deeply loved. Has he changed because he cheated, or was he always like this? I can't tell. You are William's wife, right? My name is Gloria. I've recently started dating him, she said with a sudden smile. I couldn't quite grasp the meaning of her sudden smile. I've heard a lot about you from William. Seeing you in person, you do look a bit aged. I wonder how William endured all these years. I feel a little sorry for him. Indeed, Gloria seems to take great care of her appearance. She looks much younger than her actual age in her 60s. Compared to her, I might look my age, but I can't accept the way she phrased it. Gloria, it's those tendencies of yours I warned you about, William interjected. But indeed, I did think that, but William, if it were me, I would cherish you more, I said softly. I know, Susan. I don't want you to overthink it anymore. I just want you to file the divorce papers. I was taken aback by William's expected attitude. Hold on, there's something I want to discuss, I said, noticing a hint of confusion on William's face. What are you getting at? Is it all about your father's inheritance? Is that why, after all our years of marriage, you're deciding this? I wanted to know the truth behind all these events. I can't see how my father's inheritance and you are related. That's solely my father's, William said dismissively. I've heard detailed stories about your father's vast inheritance from Cora. I know how much it's worth, I replied. So what? That inheritance isn't for you to take, he retorted. But I'll answer, actually, more than the inheritance itself, the end of taking care of my parents is one of the reasons I want to part with you. Just a caregiver role. Had William only seen me as a caregiver and not the loving wife I used to be? I didn't even have the energy to cry. Can we speed this up, William? I want to start our new life. Besides, have you still not let go of William? Gloria interjected. Don't make me repeat myself. I'm not thinking of a new start with you now. I want you to file the divorce papers, William insisted. Waves of emotion struck my heart with intense anger and deep sadness. My hand quivered slightly as I took a deep breath. I pulled out the divorce papers, but my name wasn't written yet. The situation isn't settled enough to hand it over. You remember promising me the house and money, right? I clearly remember when we talked about it, I said. Yeah, I did say that. I'm a man of my word, so I plan to give you the house and money, William replied. You say you're kind, but a truly kind person wouldn't just use their wife as a mere caregiver and then abandon her. So, I'm demanding rightful compensation of $30,000 and the rights to the house. What compensation? When we talked about money, it was supposed to be $20,000. You always nitpick at the very end, William snapped. Your attitude of trying to pay me the absolute minimum is so obvious. But the difference of $10,000 means a lot to me, so I think $30,000 as compensation is fair. Your girlfriend, it's Gloria, right? I thought of claiming from her too, but in lieu of that, I want to settle for $30,000, and I intend to sign the divorce papers right here in front of you, I added. Gloria reacted unexpectedly, first commenting, About $30,000? That should be fine, William. Pay it if you're satisfied with it, she said. With Gloria's statement, William finally accepted the alimony of $30,000. Now we need William's signature on the land title change document Ms. Laurie prepared and the notarized alimony agreement, I continued. William looked surprised by my preparations. Still, I calmly said, I have a life to continue, too, easing his suspicions. We took out our respective seals, lined them up at the designated spot, and William smiled as if he anticipated something. So, Susan, will you sign the divorce papers right now? Understood. Here's the divorce paper, I replied. As I carefully wrote my name and firmly stamped it, William couldn't hold back his laughter and laughed out loud. With this, you and I no longer have any relationship. Also, I have something to tell you. Actually, I'm set to inherit $5 million, so I didn't need someone like you. Thanks for the divorce. What a foolish ex-wife you are, letting go so easily for just $30,000, William sneered. His voice, full of disdain, echoed behind me as I left, followed by the loud laughter of William and Gloria. I hurriedly left and headed to the city hall. My only goal now is to complete this procedure as quickly as possible and sever ties with the two of them completely. They might be laughing happily now, but I wondered how long their happiness would last. A month later, I quickly sold the house I received from William, prepared for a new life, and decided to live near my daughter Cora, who planned to start her life near her husband's parents' home. Since William's mother lived nearby, I thought there would inevitably be moments I'd feel cautious, but contrary to my concerns, Cora's husband warmly welcomed me and was always considerate, which I found very reassuring. At first, my daughter Cora seemed angry at William's actions, but when I told her a certain fact, her expression changed completely, and she smiled brightly. I had a hunch that William would soon realize my plan. As proof, I deliberately didn't change my mobile number. The day that intuition became a reality came sooner than I thought. That afternoon my mobile rang repeatedly, and sure enough, it was William. He called many times, but at first I purposely didn't answer. After receiving repeated calls, I finally picked up. Hello. Why are you doing this? William raised his voice. I couldn't hide my surprise. What's the matter? You called out of the blue. What's the problem? Where are you right now? William demanded. I thought he might have visited the house we used to live in, but in reality that house had already been sold. Since we've decided to divorce, there's no need for you to be involved anymore, I replied calmly. Where did Cora go? I can't find her, William pressed. It seemed he had gone to Cora's previous house, but of course she wasn't there. I had managed all the information and procedures related to Cora's husband's family home, so William had no way of knowing. He seemed to have hit a dead end and contacted me. Yes, actually, Cora has moved to a new place, I responded calmly. Why didn't you tell me something so important? Moreover, did you know about that too? William's voice wavered as he finally realized the truth. Are you referring to the significant hidden debt that Alexander had? I asked. Actually, when I investigated Alexander's inheritance in detail, I was shocked by the amount of the inheritance, but at the same time, I found out about a considerable hidden debt. Probably, while he was alive, he estimated he could repay the debt with about $5 million and hid that fact from us. However, he passed away midway through repayment, and the hidden debt was left neglected. When you officially receive an inheritance, you are also obliged to inherit such hidden debts. William, you were blinded by the allure of easy money and neglected thorough verification and investigation. That was your big mistake. So, I have a question, William stammered. Did you really know about my dad's debt? Information is easy to come by. It becomes clear to anyone with a little search. That's why I noticed it, I explained calmly. I could imagine William turning red with anger on the other end of the phone. Anyway, what about the promised money? What about the money you intended to return? William's real goal was money after all. Besides, about that property, if I had known about my dad's debt from the beginning, I wouldn't have gotten involved at all. I understand how you feel, William said, revealing his suspicions. I thought it deep down, but I chose not to say it. But think about it. Putting aside the money issue for a moment, you got to marry a very attractive woman, right? Isn't that pretty lucky? Of course, I don't know if Gloria chose William because of his assets or if it was truly love. As soon as Gloria found out about my debt, she left me. I thought she would. It's exactly as I expected, William confessed. Think about it. How about starting over with me? I feel deceived by Gloria. I just realized now that you're the person I really need. William's tone suddenly dropped and became emotional. I wondered if he had forgotten everything he did to me. I thought to myself, feeling cornered. Every day I'm being rushed by collectors, and the debt I can't repay is piling up. I'm at my limit. I really feel my life is in danger. Help me, please, William pleaded desperately. Even after hearing his desperate plea, I calmly thought, if I were in this situation, would William help me? I'm living peacefully now and am truly satisfied. In the days to come, I want to live in peace. You might have forgotten, but remember what was said at my response? I told William. For a moment, he was lost for words on the other end of the phone. You mean back then? He asked. Yes, exactly, William. I'm really grateful that we were able to get divorced. Thank you for giving me a chance to choose a new path, I said firmly. I felt the tremor in William's voice and his tears, but for my future, I made up my mind and quietly ended the call. This marked the complete end of our relationship. I don't know how William's life is now or how he's repaying his debt, but I hope he's making an effort somewhere, I thought to myself as I contemplated the situation. Susan, how about taking a walk outside while looking at the beautiful scenery? Someone suggested. Currently, I'm enjoying my days with a wonderful person I met through a hobby in Chicago. He's very warm and always with me.